Live. Says we're live. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to another edition of Full Blast. Today we are talking about one of my favorite topics of all time. It is entirely possible that I have already done a video on this, but I wanted to remake it if I haven't done it on here before, in relation to the last video, right? So sort of building on this idea of doing the NF vibe check when you are ST. Right, when you have save your ST, I want to sort of come at this same idea from the other angle. Now, obviously, to me, because I am save your ST, it's double activated. I have NF last. This is going to come more naturally to me. It's just my computer being loud. Great. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is that, at least for me, like just looking at the math of it, it feels easier to go to like take an NF thing and make it more ST. Whereas I feel like when you're going the other direction, it's just trickier. Because you're taking something that is concrete and you're sort of like filling in the gaps with imagination. Whereas at least if you're going in the other direction, then it's like, I am making this abstract thing tangible. So what tends to happen is when somebody has save your NF, one of the reasons that many save your NF, lead NF, whatever, resist the ST is because it takes away some of the meaning and the specialness of whatever it is that you're doing. Right. And I think that we've all felt that. Again, like save your ST, demon ST, doesn't fucking matter. When you're like vibing with somebody, you're like, yes, like we're connecting. I get you. I get this. Like it's a whole thing. We're great. And then someone starts to get real ST reporterly about it. It can be really jarring. But it can also be really helpful when it's like, again, we've all seen whether it's like woman just got mugged on the street and she's talking to the cop and the cop is very just like, just the facts, ma'am. When you do that in the right way, then you can actually calm the person down, because one of the biggest kinds of emotional labor that I have felt myself have to do all the time in so many relationships, parental, romantic, professional, friendship, doesn't fucking matter, is a lot of the emotional labor that I end up doing is calming the other person down when they are stuck in NF land. And when they're stuck in this loop of like abstract meaning, I can be like, okay, well, hey, I hear you, totally hear your feelings. I can't do anything about that. Like, I can certainly listen to you and validate you and like tell you you're not wrong or crazy. But in terms of actually solving the problem, we're going to have to turn it into something ST concrete. And that's something that Dave has really, to his credit, put a lot of time and effort into doing. And I think that it's why you hear so much of this ST when he looks at the military and why he admires the military so much, is because he's like, you know what? They're getting shit done. Like, things are happening. And when there's a concrete anything to aim for, you can at least start to make forward progress in a clear way. And you're sort of able to measure what's happening at the expense of something being maybe a little bit less special. And again, my biggest point in saying all of this is that it is important to be able to go back and forth. Being stuck in one gear is going to be really, really, really hard. Even when. So my best friend in the entire universe is hardcore NF. And holy shit, she is better at NF than any human I have ever met in my entire life. It's not fucking close, just because of what she is tapped into and the way that she is able to access the NF It's fucking mind-boggling. It's incredible. And so our relationship is very much her realm is the NF and my realm is the ST. But even in those instances, I have to be able to tap into the NF thing just to be able to get onto the same page as her. And to her credit, she has learned through our friendship how to ST better. Getting a little verklempt here. That was not expected. But I get very verklempt when I talk about this, when I talk about her. She's very special to me. And she has taught me a lot about NF and my own NF and just the realm of NF. And one thing that has been really incredible and special and beautiful in our relationship is the times when we aren't on the same page. We're so quick at being able to recognize, hang on a second. We are not on the same page. Great. We're going to default assume that we're not on the same page because I am stuck in ST and she is stuck in NF, right? So then the immediate solution is, all right, hang on, let's just swap it for a second and then come back to the middle somehow, and we're able to work out literally anything we're able to work out. And we've sort of learned over time, whenever we disagree on something, the other person will tend to default into like, okay, well, hang on a second. You're coming at this from an NF point of view. Great. Let me just dip into NF for a second, hang out here, see where you're coming from. Got it. Now when I jump back out to ST land, now I at least have a frame of reference like, oh, I see what you're aiming for. Great. Got it. Boom, 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 boom. And we can work out whatever. Or sometimes she'll be like, wait, hang on. You're stuck on this ST thing. Let me jump into ST for... Oh, that's what you're aiming for? Great. I totally see what you're trying to get with this ST rigidness to the corporate. Okay, great. We can get that same result much more easily doing it this way. And I'm like, oh shit, great. So in the first video, I sort of talked about how to take something that feels really transactional. It's like was very ST fact reportery beep boop, right? And then sort of peeling that away and looking for the emotion underneath to try to get into make something a little bit more NF. And again, I say this is somebody who has for sure wrecked a relationship before it really got going with somebody who I very reasonably, if this was not somebody who I could have spent the rest of my life with, we would have for sure dated for like multiple years. And I just fucked that up because I was so stuck in my ST-ness to a degree that even if she, like, no amount of her being able to respect the ST was enough to make up for the fact that I didn't know how to extract myself from that and live in NF land for a second. It's one of the few relationships where I can fully say like, no, that was fully me. She did actual nothing wrong. I was a jackass. Full fucking stop. So, but now I want to talk about the other side of that, which is how to get from NF land into NT land. And the reason that I say it is easier is that there's just more of a cultural framework around ST than there is NF, right? So while I may have difficulty accessing my emotions, getting in touch with abstract values, historically it's a weaker muscle, whatever. There's the second challenge of like, there isn't really a lot of societal and institutional support for doing that. Like there is some, and there are certainly growing pockets of it, but like, depending on what community you're in, depending on what you're trying to do, that can be tough to really pin down, so to speak, right? We don't really have a lot of good shorthand for how to make something more NF, right? Whereas we do have a lot of shorthand. Just again, even to borrow the phrase, let's get down to brass tacks. We have a frame of reference for like what that means and what that feels like. And even if you are somebody who is not a fan of brass tacks like I am, I'm all about the brass tacks. But even if you're not, you at least have a frame of reference of like, this is what brass tacks is. This is why some people think it matters. This is the right, like you have a frame of reference for it. So to make it as concrete as possible, here's what I would say. When you are looking for how to get more ST about something, and this, it does not matter whether you have SE, SI, TE, it does not matter at all. The rule of thumb that you can go to, and I know you're going to punch me in the face. I know you're going to punch me in the face. But I promise this works. Assign a dollar amount to every interaction. And like even saying that, like I'm double activated Savior ST and I fucking hate it. It is awful. But if you are stuck in abstract NF land and you can't fucking get out of it, like assigning a dollar value to every interaction and every whatever is like, it's a really good way to at least get you unstuck and to at least get you to see the other side of it. And it's a way to go, oh, okay, I get it. This is fine. I am okay with this. Or, oh, this is very not fun. I'm not okay with this. Right? So like, I'm of the belief that money is fake in the sense that it only exists to facilitate emotional interactions, right? Because at the end of the day, like that's what we're like, trading money for money is not a thing. Like an amusement park entrance costs $60 or a video game, right? So like Animal Crossing, I'm not trying to get $60 worth of fun out of Animal Crossing. I'm trying to get an emotional experience from this thing. But in order to access that, we need some sort of exchange of goods for services. Like we need some sort of exchange, and money is the way to facilitate that, right? But the money does not actually mean anything unto itself. I'm paying for an experience. Going to a strip club does not actually, I'm paying money. Like it's not that like a lap dance costs $30. It's this feeling that I want. I exchange it for $30, right? So like but I bring that weird abstract soapbox up because when you are stuck in feeling land, being able to ground yourself in like, what does this actually cost? Like money. What money amount does this cost? Let's assign a number to it just to give it some clarity. And this is especially useful when you're stuck in NF land and things aren't going well, right? Because like, look, if you're stuck in NF land because like, I don't know, you don't have to pay rent and you don't have a job, but like people feed you and you're fine. Like, obviously you don't necessarily have to do that. But if you're in this position where you're like I have a good friend who was sort of doing the like couch surfer loafer thing in Portland. And one of the big issues was not like, from what I understand, I don't know her super well, but like money was not an issue. Like it was not, she was not having an ST problem. She was very much having an NF problem, but she was so stuck in the NF abstract weirdness that she needed something to shake her out of it. And finally she was like, well, what if I just start caring about money? And that was able to sort of jar her system and be like, oh shit, I'm paying how much to do what in the absolutely not. And then she actually started to make some real important changes in her life. So like, it can be very, very useful. So like, let's say, I have a lot of very, very good friends. And of course, I'm going to talk to my friends. We're going to talk about things. There's going to be an exchange of feelings. There's going to be an exchange of like emotions and ideas. And I help them with their problems and they help me with my problems. And it all comes out in the wash, right? But there are times when I'm like, I don't love how this relationship feels. I feel like I am being unduly burdened by this relationship. It feels bad. I feel like I'm being abstractly taken advantage of. My values are being compromised. But this person's a very good friend of mine, and I don't know how to whatever, and he's got a lot of issues, but I like him a lot, but he vents at me, and it's a what, right? The way to break out of that is not, hey, bro, you're being a buzzkill all the time. I'm setting this hard boundary. Because that kind of fucking comes out of nowhere, right? Like now we're swinging too hard into ST land. You got to ease into it. And what I sort of did for myself is I was like, I feel like I am playing therapist to this other person. So like, okay, what does a therapist charge per hour? Therapists charge a lot of money per hour. Let's say $150, right? For a session. Okay. Am I getting $150 worth of value out of his half of the friendship? And I was like, no, I'm just not. But he is getting $150 an hour's worth of friendship value out of my end. Okay, great. Now I got to start to put a couple of boundaries into place just to make the transaction a little bit more even. And I talked in the previous video about the concept of transactional, right? And how when there is a transaction, then there isn't an emotional connection. That can be really, really useful on the other hand, too. It's like I'm so caught up in this emotional connection that I have with this person, with this city, with this whatever it is. Let's put a fucking dollar value on it for a second, just to give ourselves some kind of frame of reference. And then if we want to, adjust the spectrum, to make the money more even, or to just lessen the amount of time that I'm adding, that I'm contributing with this person, whatever it is, we can do whatever the fuck you want. But it can be really, really useful to go, you know what? I am not like, this is an unfair power dynamic that I don't like. And I'm glad that I assigned a dollar value to it because that helped me. That helped me like see the problem more clearly, regardless of how I want to address it moving forward, right? And I think about like dates that I've gone. The best date. No, that's a lie. It is not the best date. I'm trying to think of like, okay, so that's the fucking gold standard of dates. What are you gonna do? There have been a couple dates that were like, mwah. But one particular, this was probably like a top 5 date. And she was a lawyer. She was doing a summer internship. She was in law school. Fucking badass woman. We had great chemistry. It was incredible. But what made our relationship and the couple of times we went on dates so cool and so interesting was like, we are both very ST driven. And in setting up this date, we were like, okay, she's a lawyer and she's like, look, I have to be on the clock. Like I'm I'm like a junior associate. I'm doing a summer internship. I'm in law school. I'm getting my ass kicked. I can't leave the office before 7:45. That's just not going to happen. I said, but she's like, we can either have dinner at 8 and I need to check my phone and have my phone on the table, or we can meet up at like 10 or 10:30 and you can have my undivided attention. And I was like, I would much rather see you earlier. I'm an earlier riser type person. So like, I am perfectly comfortable with you having your phone on the table because I would rather see you early, right? That whole thing, like that was very transactional. It was very, very transactional. There was no emotion involved. And once we set up those parameters, then the date was incredible because we understood like we're in the middle of a thing, we're flowing. And then in a lull in a conversation, she's like, hang on, got to check the phone. Great, we're good. Get back into the conversation, right? And so there was this really easy flow between ST and NF. And I think about just dates in general. And also, she paid. She paid for that date. Again, because at the time, she was making double what I was making, even as like a junior. Like New York lawyers make stupid amounts of money. So like, she was like, trust me, I got this. Because I paid for the first date. She paid for the second date, right? We had the ST Fairsies, right? As a side note, I think that part of Shannon's interest in Fairsies-ness certainly comes from her EJ-ness, but I also think it's her Savior ST. Because when you assign a dollar amount or a time amount, where it's like, we spend 4 hours talking about your problem and 15 minutes talking about mine, that's a very concrete thing that you can see the inequality, right, in a very ST way. And so I think that when you're having an NF problem, ST stands for, that's a really good question. So ST, in objective personality, we sort of use the Myers-Briggs code loosely, like ENTJ, INFP, whatever, ESTJ. But ST refers to those middle two letters, right? So ST is, S stands for sensory, T stands for thinking. And in OP terms, all we're talking about is concrete, right? Things that are actually tangible and measurable or accountable. And T is sort of like logic, building blocks, reason. So ST, think of it like if you're talking to a cop, if you're filling out a police report, that is a pure transaction. There is nothing emotional that the cop gives a shit about that has anything to do with your emotions. Doesn't fucking matter to the cop. I use this anecdote a lot. Back when I was working at my old company, one of the salespeople got a very threatening phone call. It was very scary for everybody. And I was the one who talked to the cop because my ST mode was just stronger, like of the people who were in positions of authority to like actually talk to the cops about this thing. I was the one who was able to go, okay, great. This is the message. Here's the transcript. Here's the timestamp of the message. I can email you an audio recording of it if you give me an email address. I also put it on this flash drive, the audio file so that you have it. Here is an email of the correspondence. The person also followed up with a very nasty email. Again, we are not concerned, but we want to make sure that, in the event that the situation does escalate, we want to make sure that we reported it the first time so that we've established some sort of precedent, that we've opened up a case file, that the detective has all the information that he or she needs, right? All that is a transaction. At its core, it is the equivalent of me going, great, I'm buying 3 frozen pizzas, 2 big things of ribs, a thing of Brussels sprouts, a thing of stir fry. I'm not getting the bacon today because I get that from the specialty foods market. Also, here's my Ralph's card, and I should be able to get a discount on this, this, and this. The cashier says, great, your total is $72.23. And I go, wait a second. That seems, the card didn't scan, right? I should have gotten the discount. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That's $62.24, right? That's what ST is trying to do. And if you're stuck in NF land, find something transactional to make it about. So, incidentally, there are a number of people in my life are very into giving presents, birthday presents, Christmas, or whatever. I am not a present guy. I'm just not. I will do it if it is situationally appropriate, but it's not like it is certainly not my love language at all. It is the bottom of my list of love languages, but I appreciate it. Of course, I'm not an asshole. And in every instance with the other person who does want to give gifts, they do it voluntarily. They like to do it. I make sure that I try to add substantial value in the way that I can so that the relationship doesn't feel one-sided. But let's say I was an asshole, right? Let's say I was taking advantage of this other person and their desire to give gifts and gift cards and, I got you a gift certificate to this restaurant you like, because you don't go out much. And I'm like, I don't need that, but thank you, I appreciate it, right? But let's say I was an asshole about it. And I was like, yeah, I get free money from this other human. Sweet. And didn't say anything and didn't contribute anything. And then eventually they were like, you know what? I do all these nice things for this other person. And they don't give me the respect that I deserve. What the fuck is going on? That's when the person is feeling taken advantage of, because the person doing these nice things, if they're coming from an NF position, it's never about the money. Ever. And it took me forever to figure that out. That the money is like, what? No, it's what I want to do a nice thing for you. There's a great scene in the TV show Barry. First off, great fucking TV show. If you do not watch Barry, it's really good, kind of intense, surprisingly dark and dramatic, and Bill Hader can fucking act. Oh my God, he's so good. But everyone in the show is great. I'm gonna find the actress's name because she is incredible as well. Sarah Goldberg. So there's a scene between Sarah Goldberg and Bill Hader, and they're in an acting class together, and he's like this hitman. So he has hundreds of thousands of dollars, tons of money, and she is a poor actress. And they sleep together, and she's like, oh, yeah, my computer's all fucked up. And the next time he sees her, he's like, oh, hey, by the way, I saw that your computer was busted, so here's a new computer. And he brings her this $2,500 MacBook Pro, fresh in the box, whatever. And she fucking loses her mind. She's like, what the fuck is this? This is some Tony Soprano shit. This computer, this is 3 months worth of rent for me. How dare you get me such an expensive gift? How dare you do that? And Barry's like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? I like you. I just bought you a computer because you needed a new computer and I can afford this new computer. Like, what are you freaking out about? I just wanted to do something nice for you, and you have to go and make it into this big fucking transaction, right? That's the NFST fight. Now, I'm not typing either of these people. I have no idea who is what, doesn't fucking matter. But that particular interaction illustrates the conflict between NF and ST, right? And so the person who is coming from an NF perspective doesn't even think about the money, doesn't even think about the expense of this gift. When the person coming from the ST perspective, all they can think about is how they're a broke actress who can barely afford, $800, $900 worth of rent a month. And this person comes in and gives her a laptop that would be 3 months worth of rent, and this dude fucking strolls in like it's nothing. That is such an intense power imbalance, right? So when a person is coming from an NF perspective and it is causing conflict, the easiest thing they can do is like, okay, fine. If this is causing an imbalance, let's just tally it up. Let's see all of the money. Let's get real petty about it. Let's get petty. And that is a way, right? I have a very good friend. I adore this woman to pieces. And one thing that we joke about is like, look, I'm being really nice right now. I'm not getting like, I'm living in NF land. And this is where I like to live. I like to live in happy, NF consume land. She's an IP. I love her so much. She's one of my dearest, closest friends. But one thing that we joke, she's like, yeah, look, if you want me to get petty, I can get real petty real fast. Because she has ST Blast 3rd. She's like a glass lizardy IP kind of person. She's like, look, if you want to play the petty game, I don't want to play the petty game with you, but holy shit, I will get petty as fuck, parentheses, in a demon state. If you want to see demon state petty, let's fucking go, right? But if you want to stay in nice land where everybody likes each other and everybody's friends and the vibe is good, that is certainly where I would prefer to stay. But look, if you want to take it there, I have no problem doing this. I don't, right? And that's, that's maybe not the best tactic always, but it's certainly a tactic. If you're fed up and you're like, I feel disrespected, I feel taken advantage of, I feel my abstract values are being compromised, you can just start with like, I remember there was a friend of mine was telling me about how he got into a fight with his mom. And he was like slamming doors and he was like, I don't have to listen to you. I'm an adult, right? He's like, well, when you're in my house, then it's my rules. Well, fuck you, mom. The fight ended when the mom was like, okay, if that's how you want to play this, if you don't want to be a part of this family, fine. Here's expenses. This is what it costs in rent. This is what food costs. This is what transportation is. Oh, also, you're going to have to, if you want to work something out where you chauffeur your sister around, we can knock some money off of the rent. And then real quick, it became a transaction. You're like, oh, no, this is icky. I don't like this. Okay. Yep. Nope. You got it, mom. Touche. I was an asshole. I'll play the NF abstract game with you. I won't take advantage. I'll be a little more cognizant of that because playing the ST game, I don't like this very much at all. Right. And I do think it's important to be able to swing back and forth, right? If you are stuck in transaction mode, being able to go, hang on a second, what is underneath this transaction? Like, what is the emotion being exchanged here? Because I'm getting really hung up on the fact that I'm taking this girl out and we're just, dinner after dinner. And, I bought her a piece of jewelry and, whatever. And she's still seeing other guys and like, I don't know this. Like, I don't like this. Right. Okay. Let's count up how much this dinner costs. Right. Oh, maybe the next time we go out, maybe let's not go to a $200 dinner. I'm not saying we got to do the 2 for $20 special at Applebee's, but yeah, maybe, maybe subtly say, oh, you know what? I don't really feel like drinking tonight. You know what? I'm not, going to a slightly less fancy place. Again, whatever it may be. That is a way to sort of at least clarify the relationship, right? But again, that's sort of this like I'm doing all this feeling and it's not going too great. Oh, I'm spending a lot of money. All right, let's decrease the money. On the other hand, if you're so locked into, well, let's see. So we split the bill this time, and then next time you got it, but the place that you went, you always pick the places that aren't, that aren't as expensive as the places that I pick, and you're getting real bickery and shit about it and real petty. That is a really good instance to be like, okay, well, hang on a second. Do I like spending time with you? Do I have the resources to do this, right? Like, is it causing me an undue burden to pay for dinner as often as I pay for it to the places that we like to go together, right? It's not an undue hardship. Okay, it's a little unfair, but you know what? I like spending time with you. And when you're happy, I don't know, when you're happy, I'm happy. I like making you happy. You brighten up the room when I see your smile, and when you come home after we've had lobster, you're just the most wonderful person to be around. I want to be around that. You light up my life, and all I want to do is make you happy. You know what? It's worth it. Fuck it. I will never complain again. Right? You gotta go back and forth. But I do think that in our culture, it is a lot easier to make something more transactional than it is to make it less transactional. So I think that you can trust that if you feel taken advantage of, and if you feel that your emotions are being compromised, that somebody is, that your generosity isn't being reciprocated, but you can't quite pin it down. You can't really put a number on it, put a figure on the feeling. Get petty for a second. Say, okay, I sent this person, a gift basket, right? Well, how much did this cost? All right, well, the basket itself cost, $7. Okay. Well, the stuffing, the little Easter stuffing cost this much. I got the chocolate bunny that he likes from the very expensive chocolate place. That was like a $24 bunny. All right. So now we're up into looking at like $35, $36. And then I put the concert ticket. Of course, I forgot about the fucking concert ticket. He wanted to go see the concert. So I got him 2 concert tickets. Of course, he didn't take me. Of course, he didn't take me to the concert. But no, he took his friend to the concert. Sure. So each of those tickets, that was $35 a piece. All right. So now we're looking, it's $140. Okay. $140 that I spent, and I get nothing in return. Right? It's just a way to clarify it. Right? It is not the end all be all. I am not saying that ST is the answer to life. Is NF the answer to life? Man, I guess if you had to pick one, I think NF at the end of the day probably has to trump ST. I don't know. Again, depends on depends on where you're coming from, depends on a lot of different factors. But know that if you need to balance the NF-ST scale, making something more or less transactional, right? Making it less transactional will make it more NF. Making it more transactional will make it more ST. Depending on where you need to, find that equilibrium, using the concept of a transaction is really, really useful. And I'm going to end again. So I make these Tuesday videos, after I do an improv class. So I always have these nuggets of improv wisdom that I like to share. And one of the rules in improv class that I talked about in another video. Let's see if I can find it. So last time I was like, whenever there's, without an emotion, it's just a transaction, right? It's either give me something, teach me something, or do something for me, right? One of the sort of rules of improv, and certainly the early stages of improv, is don't do a teaching scene, don't do a sales transaction scene, just because it makes it harder to have the emotional connection. And ultimately in any, whether it is an improv scene, a sketch, whether it's a play, whether it's a song, whether it's a video game, it does not fucking matter. All we care about at the end of the day is the relationship and how 2 people feel about each other. That is it. I will die on this hill saying that anything is fundamentally about the human relationship. It has to be, because we are humans experiencing art or consuming media, whatever it is, and we will eventually get bored. Like, the diminishing returns when something is just about a thing is really, it happens really, really quickly. The Big Short, right? The only reason the movie The Big Short were, right? It's about like the 2008 financial collapse and how some people made squibajillions of dollars and some people were like completely destitute, bankrupt, right? Whatever. The only reason that movie works is because the movie isn't about money. And it's not even how people feel about money. It's how they feel about each other. Money is just like the conduit for exploring this relationship and exploring the relationship between, two different people or two different groups of people, right? In contrast, so I watched the first couple of episodes of a show called Billions. I didn't like it. Did not grab me. And the biggest reason it didn't grab me is because everything was just about the thing. It was about money. It was about the status symbol. It was about the world. And it was never really ultimately about the two humans, right? It was, I'm screwing over this other, and same with Revenge. Revenge is another show that really did that for me. It seemed to be about the humans. It was not about the humans. It was about, how can I create this elaborate prank to like fuck over somebody else, right? And that's at least the first couple of episodes what they're really about. And I'm like, I don't care, right? It was, and again, in both of those instances, the ST machinery of those shows was trumping the NF clarity of relationship underneath. I bring up my favorite sketch of all time. I think it is a flawless sketch, and I'll end on this. This Key and Peele substitute teacher sketch is, in my mind, the greatest sketch ever written, ever, in any medium, ever. It basically cannot be topped. I haven't seen it. Maybe the Richard Pryor Chevy Chase scene from back in the day where they do the racial slurs, maybe. But like, I just think this is a perfect sketch. It's a perfect bulletproof sketch. And it works not because it's like, I'm a teacher from the inner city and I mispronounce white people names, right? D Nice, Aaron, Balake, right? O'Shag Hennessy. That's not what's funny about it. It's not why we could watch that sketch for an hour and be laughing our ass off. It's funny because of the relationship between the teacher and the student. You watch that sketch, they could be talking about fucking anything. And it's this, the relationship is, I don't take no guff and you're giving me guff. And I don't like your you're being disrespectful, right? It's like, I have a feeling about you. And these poor kids are there like, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm trying to help you. And like, but that's just not how my name is pronounced. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You're a fucking asshole, right? That's why it's funny. So all of this is to say, being able to go back and forth between making something super transactional and not transactional at all, that is how you can sort of find this equilibrium between NF and ST. And if something isn't working, just look at where it is on the transaction spectrum, right? Look at how you're viewing it as being too transactional or more transactional or less transactional. And just make sure you're not going further in that direction. And you will at least start to address whatever NF-ST problem that you have. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you for listening to my weird tangent. Hopefully that was all helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.